What's good, guys? So even though I haven't been on YouTube making videos, I've still been in the open source space and playing around with stuff and paying attention to all the news and everything. And one of the things that has came out recently has completely changed the way I do work. Seriously, I didn't think a web browser could make me more productive, yet I found one that did. And that browser is Zen Browser. Now, I've seen a lot of videos that have been covering Zen Browser, like mainly because they cover how beautiful it is and it's a successor to Arc Browser and all that. However, I haven't really seen any videos on how people are actually using it in their workflow. So in this video, I'm gonna basically cover all of the features that Zen has that has made it, for me, just the best browser for productivity, just hands down completely. The first feature is the sidebar. So on Zen Browser, everything is on a sidebar here. And this makes it easier to find tabs when you have tons of tabs open. I'm sure everyone's been in that situation where they have 1,000 Chrome tabs and you can't even like see what each tab is because there's so many. But more importantly, it actually provides more vertical space for a web page, and there's a way to hide it, which can make it less distracting. So if I go over to Zen Browser here, I move my sidebar to the right because I like having my window controls here, and by default it will hide the controls, which I don't like. But as you can see, this is the sidebar here. One thing is you can pin your essential tabs right here. So if there's a web app that you use very, very frequently, let's say you use it for work, you can pin it up here. So I have like my Google Calendar pinned and a few other apps. I'm not gonna show my calendar because it's personal, but so if I open a random website here, I'm doing OMG Ubuntu. If I maximize the window here, as you can see, a lot of websites actually center the content, which means that having extra horizontal space doesn't really matter for lots of different websites, especially content-focused websites. And so having all of your window controls on the side here instead of on the top actually lets the website display even more content, since the content gets displayed vertically. Now, to be fair, it is a small difference. For me, it does make a huge difference personally, but a lot of people won't care about that. But if I right click the sidebar here, I can enable compact mode. And this makes your website full screen, but it does have this border, which I do like. It's aesthetic, but ultimately now I don't have my sidebar distracting me with all my tabs and everything. I really only use this feature when I'm actually trying to lock in on something like an essay I'm writing in Google Docs or something like that. But it provides even more space and just reduces distractions completely. Next up, let's talk about workspaces and containers. Now, Zen Browser lets you have workspaces, actually kind of almost similar to like desktop workspaces you would find on GNOME or even Windows, Mac OS, KDE, all of that. You can also set up these workspaces to actually have their own containers, which will isolate your cookies, your accounts, and things like that. Now, to be honest, for a browser, I don't really care about having workspaces by themselves because I could just have multiple browser windows that I put on a different desktop workspace. But what I do love is the container features. Now, I personally have a work Google account here, and that's what I have like my Google Calendar through. I have my Gmail through that, all of that. However, this Google account is brand new, and I have this YouTube channel, which is on my old Google account, and that is what has all my YouTube recommendations and my subscriptions and things like that. And so it was really annoying me to go onto YouTube and accidentally be signed into my work account and not have any of my recommendations or anything. So now what I can do is I just have my personal workspace, and any tab I open will actually open into my personal Google account, which does have my YouTube and everything that I want. And so the other thing I'm doing now is for a lot of the time-wasting websites, like sometimes I scroll Instagram on my computer, things like that, I end up logging in on my personal workspace here, and then that way I'm signed out on my work profile here. So then if I want to go on Instagram on this profile, then I have to go through the hassle of signing in, and then just the whole action of needing to sign in or having to switch to my personal workspace kind of makes me realize, hey, okay, I'm getting distracted. Let's go back to work. But even then, you can also change like your essential apps depending on your profile. So I could have like all my social media and relaxation websites and everything on my personal tab that I can just click right here. And then when I'm working, I can have all of my work apps right here too. Now, I would like to point out that Firefox does have this feature too, as you can see here, but I don't really like how they're just grouped into your regular tabs here and everything. I really like the degree of separation you have here, where switching between a workspace also switches between your profiles here. It's almost like I can be in work mode and then I'm done working for the day. Bam, personal mode. And before, I was using multiple browsers for doing this. I was using Firefox for my personal stuff and Chromium for all of the work stuff. Next up, Zen just has tons and tons and tons of different productivity features. I already showed off the compact view, so I'm not going to show that again, but there's also a split screen mode here. So if I'm trying to do work, I can just drag a tab to the side right here. Now I have two websites open, split screen side by side, and if I put it in compact mode, boom. This is great for if I'm working on a essay or something for school, and I can have my Google Doc right here, and then all of my research and everything that I need to Google, maybe the rubric right here. There's also a feature called Glance, which lets you preview a link before you click it. And this is very good for like Google searches. So if I search something like best tech news sites or something like that, instead of going directly to the result or opening it in a new tab, I can instead hold Alt, click the link, and it will open this little window right here and let me just take a little peek at the website. And then if I decide that this is a search result that I wanted, I can click this full screen button right here and it will open it into a new tab for you. Or instead, if I don't like this result, I can just close this and then alt click the next result, preview that. Oh, I don't really like this result either. So let's leave and boom. And oh, I actually like reading the Wired. Let's open that. Boom. Now, the next thing isn't really a productivity benefit, but it's just a really beautiful looking browser. So if I right click and go to edit theme here, you have this whole like theme selection thing right here. And there's a lot of good looking colors you can pick out, and it will switch between light and dark mode with the rest of your system. Now, part of why I like this is there's a lot of browsers that just have their own theme entirely. Like I'm going to use Vivaldi here as an example. Vivaldi has quite a few themes. Like you can make it look beautiful, but it doesn't look like it integrates in your system at all. Like maybe it's better on Windows and Mac OS, but I'm personally on a Linux system and it doesn't integrate with the native apps at all. It has bad looking title bars, just whatever. What I like about how Zen does the theming and the customizations is it actually integrates with your environment here. So as you can see, the window controls right here are the GNOME window controls, and it integrates and just looks really good. And then another thing I like is these themes are all profile dependent here. So it helps you know which browser profile you're in. So having different themes for different profiles actually helps distinguish these workspaces even more, as they just feel like completely different environments almost with how the styling looks. Now, next up, this is a private web browser. This isn't owned by a mega corporation like a Google or a Microsoft, and so this isn't going to be just spying on you like those web browsers do. And because it's Firefox based, you do get all of the privacy controls and everything it has, and it is open source. So if you're someone who really cares about that, that is a good pro of this web browser. Kind of sounds like Zen Browser might just be a no-brainer to use, but this isn't a perfect browser. There are some problems. The main catch right here is it is based on Firefox. Now, this is good or bad depending on how you look at it. Right now, the web browser market is very, very saturated, where Chrome owns 70% market share. And if it's even worse if we go to desktop here, because for desktop, we have 75% market share for Chrome, 10% market share for Edge, 5% for Safari, 4% for Firefox, and then we have all the other browsers. But the thing is that only Safari here and Firefox here are using their own engines. All of these other browsers use the Chromium engine behind the scenes. And so this gives Google just a super large influence over the web that a lot of people don't like. And so there's a lot of people who are using Firefox just to prevent Google from having a monopoly. So if you're one of those people, that is a good thing. However, I'm gonna be honest, I just like my tech to work. And if you're doing real work, you're going to run into web apps that just do not work very well on Firefox, especially like really complicated web apps are going to be much slower on Firefox or not work at all. One of my college classes had this attendance web app that uses your location and among other things to determine if you are in class or not. And the time I tried to use that app in Zen Browser, I got marked absent from my class. So just in the real world, there are going to be situations where you might need a Chromium-based browser, and I do have Chrome installed just for those situations. Now, another catch is there is going to be a learning curve. It's not really a complicated browser to use. It is pretty self-explanatory. You have a sidebar with your tabs. But if you have muscle memory from decades of using a web browser where all of your tabs are at the top, it will take a bit to be adjusting to having all your tabs on the side instead. That said, the muscle memory problem did go away after about a week, but that is something to keep in mind. Another thing is sometimes the controls are hidden in weird spots. For example, if you need to access extension settings, you have to click right here, and then here is your extension settings like hidden. I just don't really like where this is. This is also where your bookmark menu, your share menu, your camera, and reader view are hidden too, but it can just be confusing. Next up, if you're on a Windows computer or a Mac, there is no wide-vine DRM support yet. Now, the Linux version, it does work fine. I don't really know the technical reason behind that, but if you're on Windows or Mac OS, you can't use sites like Netflix, Spotify, Apple Music, things like that, because those sites use wide-vine DRM, and it just isn't supported on Windows because you need these very, very expensive certifications that they can't afford because they're just a small open source team. Now, the final catch here, this is just a temporary thing, but as of January 2026, when I'm recording this video, the browser is still in beta, and there are going to be some bugs and issues. I've been using Zen for about 6 months, and I haven't had too many problems, but I have about 3 weeks ago, I did have to completely reset the browser because I had an issue where sites just wouldn't load. And actually, I know someone else who had the same issue too. And so that's just the type of problem you're going to get as a result of running a browser that's still in beta. But it isn't too unstable at the moment, and this will not be a problem once they finally get a stable version out. Anyways, thank you for watching the video. Tell me what you think of Zen Browser in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.